Good evening, everyone. We are Group 13, and our topic is the impact of digital finance on residents' consumption. First, let our partner Yu Runze give an introduction.
Over the past 40 years, China's economy has undergone a profound transformation, from a central planned model to a market-oriented one. In recent years, this transformation has shifted focus from speed to quality. The digital economy now plays a pivotal role, accounting for 9.9% of GDP in 2023. Within this broader trend, digital finance has rapidly expanded through mobile payments, digital lending, and AI-driven financial services. It promises greater inclusion and efficiency. However, while digital finance is often prized for its potential, its actual impact on household consumption, especially considering differences between urban and rural areas, remains underexplored. This is where our study is situated. This slide presents the core research questions and objectivities of our study. We begin by asking, does digital finance promote household consumption in China? While digital platforms are expanding rapidly, their actual impact on spending behavior at the household level remains unclear. The second question explores the mediating role of income. That is, does digital finance improve consumption directly by rising household income? Third, we consider urban-rural differences, given disparities in digital access and economic structure. We investigate whether digital finance affects these two groups differently. Building on these questions, our objectivities are threefold. First, to empirically assess the impact of digital finance on consumption. Second, to test whether income acts as a transmission channel. And third, to identify whether these effects vary between urban and rural residents. This framework allows us to explore not just if digital finance matters, but also how and for whom it matters most. In recent years, digital finance has become a key driver of household consumption growth in China. With the widespread adoption of mobile payments, internet-based credit, and digital wealth management tools, consumption behavior and financial access channel have changed significantly. However, there's still ongoing debate about the extent and the nature of its impact. Some studies suggest that digital finance enhances consumption by improving access to credit, reduce transaction costs, and increasing financial availability. On the other hand, critics argue that excessive reliance on digital credit may lead to overborrowing, financial risks, and unsustainable consumption patterns. Given these contrasting views, our study aims to explore the actual mechanisms and effects of digital finance on household consumption. The goal is to provide solid empirical evidence to inform both policy decisions and financial innovations.
The literature review is divided into three sections: the conceptual definition and primary measurement indicators of digital finance, the influencing factors of household consumption behavior, and the empirical studies on the impact of digital finance on household consumption. First, let us review the definitions of digital finance. Most scholarly research considers digital finance as the outcome of integrating digital technologies with traditional financial services. According to the report on financial technology by Consumers International, the joint development of finance and technology can be divided into three main stages. At present, we are in the third stage, in which financial institutions are experiencing rapid growth and actively leveraging information technology to enhance the quality of their services. The development of digital finance in China began later than in the Western countries. Although the specific definition of digital finance varies across studies, mainstream literature generally agrees on three fundamental characteristics. First, is based on digital technologies. Second, it serves a broad range of users with an emphasis on inclusiveness. And third, it encompasses a diverse set of financial functions, including payment, credit, insurance, and investment. Next is an introduction to the measurement methods and representative indices of digital finance. International organizations and scholars primarily construct cross-country comparative indicators based on micro-level statistical data and sample service. For example, the China Digital Inclusive Finance Index. From a methodological perspective, different indicator systems have their respective strengths. When the research focuses on cross-regional consumption behavior, it's more appropriate to use a regional aggregated index as the core explanatory variable. In contrast, studies based on household or individual survey data should contrast individual-level digital finance usage variables and incorporate factors such as financial literacy and credit preference to conduct mechanism analysis. The second section introduces the factors influencing household consumption. In traditional theories, income is regarded as the most fundamental determinant of household consumption level. Objectively, the factors influencing the upgrading of household consumption extend beyond individuals themselves and also include government expense, price level, industrial structure, and others. On the subjective side, factors such as individual income, saving levels, age, consumer technology and habits, as well as consumption expectation, may all influence household consumption behavior. The third section presents empirical studies on the impact of digital finance on household consumption. This study typically focuses on how digital finance affects total consumption, consumption structure, consumption expectations, and the heterogeneous effects across different population groups. The research methods commonly employed include micro-level data regression, panel data analysis, and the mediation effect testing, among other economic tools.
Hello everyone, hello doctor, my name is Beijing. I want to introduce this my topic is the data and the methodology. Firstly, I want to introduce we use the data from the 2019 Household Finance Service. It's the Southwestern the University of Finance and Economic China University website. It's for the methodology, we apply for the OLS models to test the hypothesis 1. There we use the medians at the expand model to examine the hypothesis 2, where we explored how income median at the relationship between the digital finance and the consumption. Finally, for the H3, we contact the heterogeneity, the complete urban and the rural household. You can see this topic is you should the OES model to test the hypothesis 1. Here is the dependent the variable is of the total household consumption, and it independent or variable is the digital finance used. It inquires when if the household use any digital finance totals like online payment or investment, and the digital another ways. We also country for another household in XIT. The hypothesis we test is that the use of digital finance will permit the consumption of both the urban and the rural residents. This table shows the main variable. The first you can see the resident household consumption is the dependent variable is the load of the total household consumption expenditure. Second, you can see that the use of the digital finance is the independent variable is the equal if the household was digital finance topic is the payment leading or wealthy the measurement is for the 0 to 3. You can see the income, the median at the variable is the load of the total household income. used to test the median effect. So I already introduced this my dependent variable and the independent variable and the median variable. So that's all. I want to continue to introduce this my contrast variable. It's have the aged and the education and the healthy and the insurance and the looks. Yeah, this is my our models is the contrast variable. You can see. This one I want to show this the median effect models. We use the three equation. The first equation is the household consumption of digital finance and the contrast variables, and the second equation test is the digital finance influence the household income. The third equation add the household income as a median add into the first equation to see if the reduce is the extent of the digital finance. The median in the variable is the loan of the total household income, which helps explain the extent of the digital finance on consumptions. Our second is H2 studies that digital finance promotes consumption by the increasing household income. To introduce the urban resident and the rural residents. This basis led the separate for two groups. The first group is the urban resident and the second is the rural resident. To objective is to compare how to effect of the digital finance on household consumption different between these two groups. The prominent extent of the digital finance on the consumption of the rural resident is the significantly stronger than that on the urban resident. This structure that rural risk possibility due to limited traditional financial accretions. The more for digital finance in terms of the consumption enhancement. This line I want to introduce is the contrast variables models. You can see the OLS models one is at the contrast variable is the education, healthy, and the insurance. And this the models 2 is the income equation, and the model 3 is the decreed and induced effects is at the digital finance and the in total incomes and the policy and education. Yeah, see this is the totals at the contrast variables models.
Hello everyone, I'm Sun Rui. Let's look in practical results. In this part, we look at data from 22,633 households in China. We focus on how much families consumption and how much money they make. On average, each family spends about 60,000 and 58 yuan, but there are a big difference between families. Some consumption a lot, while others spend very little. The standard deviation is around 69,000 and 905 yuan, which shows difference. When we look at income, family earns around 75,000 and 864 yuan on average, but the difference is bigger here. The standard deviation is 202 and 560 yuan, meaning some families earn much more than others. In the data, about 69% of people are female. The average education level is 8.8 years, and about 46% of households use digital payment, like WeChat and or Alipay. This information helps us to understand the difference between households. It also helps us to get the deeper data analysis later. And then we find the digital finance use has a positive relationship with household consumption. The correlation is 0.376, which means the more people use digital finance, the more this consumption. Second, use more types of digital finance tool has an even stronger link with consumption. This correlation is 0.393, a bit higher. And then education level is also important. People with more education tend to use digital finance more and consumption more. Age is different. Elderly people use digital finance less. The coefficient is negative, and also consumption less. correlation also negative. This result shows that digital finance, education, and age all affect how much people consumption. This figure shows three scatter points for different groups, for example, urban and rural household. On the x-axis is digital finance diversity, the number of digital tool use from 0 to 3. The y-axis is the household consumption. We can see the right trend line all go upward, which means that as people use more digital finance tools, they spend more. This pattern is true for all three groups. So digital finance diversity is positive relative to household's consumption, no matter where the household is located. This table shows the result of multi-collinearity test using VIF, which tell us if our independent variables are too closely related. As we can see in the table, all VIF values are quite low. The highest is only 1.71 for age, and the average just 1.25. Since all values are far below 10, we can see there is no serious multicollinearity in the model. This means the variables in our regression are not strongly related to each other, and our result will be more reliable. And then this result shows a 5 regression model used to study what affects household consumption. First, we see that age has a clearly negative effect. Older people consumption less, and education and health insurance both have positive effects, meaning more educated or insured people tend to spend more. Then we test 4 different digital finance variables. In Model 2, digital payment has a stronger positive effect with a coefficient of 0.507. In Model 3, digital lending also show a positive effect of 0.298. Model 4 looks at overall digital financial use, which give us similar results. And the Model 5 focus on tool device diversity, which a coefficient of 0.369. We use these 5 models step by step, starting with control variables, then ending one digital finance factor at a time to compare their effects and make sure our results are consistent and reliable. Overall, we find the digital finance help increase household consumption.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Master Fatmanazah binti Mustafa, and I am going to present the fifth part of the empirical analysis, which is the robustness test. So, table 4.5 is a stability test where it shows a comparison, the standardized deviation of covariates before and after matching, which is the first column, which is the F column, is for before matching, and G column is after matching. So here we can see that the key independent variable use of the digital finance tools remains positive and highly significant across both models, indicating that the treatment effect is robust to the changes in the model specification. So several control variables such as marriage, education, and political status also show consistently significant effects, while others like risk preference have a significantly negative association. So the results suggest that the model is stable and the estimated treatment effect is not sensitive to minor specification changes. So the next table is the PSM regression results. From here, so this table presents the average treatment effects on the treated entity estimated using the various propensity score matching PSM methods, including nearest neighbor 1-to-1 and 1-to-4, radius matching, and kernel matching. So from here we can see that across all matching methods, the entity remains positive and statistically significant at the 1% level, with the highest entity observed under kernel matching, which is the value is 0.4439. This consistency in treatment effects across different matching techniques reinforce the robustness of the causal impact and suggest that the results are not driven by the specific matching methods. So this is the next part is the mediating effects. These are the model specification for mediating effects that are derived from Beijing presentation earlier. So these are the model specification. The table 4.7 shows the mediation regression result, as we can see here. For the first step, which is the total effect, we can see here that the use of the digital tools has a significant positive impact on the residents' consumption with a coefficient of 0.509 with a p-value less than 0.001. And the second step, which is the income effect, the use of the digital finance tools can significantly increase the household income level with a coefficient of 0.627 with a p-value less than 0.001. And the third step, which is the direct or the indirect effect, which is the use of the digital tools on residents' consumption will decrease to 0.375 with a p-value of less than 0.001, even though it is decreased, but the value is still remain significant. So after incorporating the income variable into the model, the impact of the income variable on residents' consumption was also significantly positive with a coefficient of 0.215 with a p-value less than 0.001. So from this table, we can see that the use of the digital tools not only directly promotes residents' consumption, but also indirectly affects consumption behavior by increasing the income level. So basically from here, we can see that the model results have good robustness. So table 4.8 is the bootstrap test for the mediation effect, and this test is conducted to verify the mediating role of income between the use of digital tools and the residents' consumption. So from here we can see that the estimated value of the indirect effect is 14.412, the standard error is 3.090, and the Z value is 4.66 with the p-value less than 0.001, which is 0.0, with the extremely high significance. The 95% bootstrap confidence interval was at 0.357, 20.467 excluding 0, indicating that the mediating effect was statistically significant. So this shows that the result is consistent with the conclusion of the partial mediation obtained by the three-step regression methods. So income, it means that income has a significant partial mediating effect between the use of digital tools and the residents' consumption. The path relationship is significant, the indirect effect is not 0, and the bootstrap confidence interval does not cross 0. Therefore, the statistical robustness of the mechanism conduct path is verified. So from here we can see that we have the strong evidence that the effect of the independent variable x on the dependent variable y is partially mediated through the mediator m, which is income. So the indirect effect is statistically significant at 1% level based on a bootstrap test with 1000 replication. So 4.7 is the heterogeneity test. So from this table 4.9, we can see that the influence coefficient of the digital usage for rural is 0.497, which is higher than the coefficient of digital finance usage in urban area, which is 4.29. But both coefficients are significantly at 1% level. So this result indicates that compared with urban residents, rural residents rely more on the digital financial means to obtain financial service and consumption support. So digital finance has a stronger incentive effect in elevating the insufficient availability of rural finance and shows certain heterogeneous policy effects. So I'm going to pass the presentation to Dingjian.
Hi everyone. So now I would like to present the key findings and policy implications of our study. So firstly, the use of the digital finance significantly increased the household consumption levels. Households that use mobile payments, online credit service, or digital investment tools report notably higher total consumption expenditures. Among those, the mobile payments have the stronger impacts, as they reduce the transaction fractions and enhance the overall consumer experience. Secondly, the diversity of the digital finance tools used is positively correlated with the household consumption. Households that engage with the multiple type of the digital finance service, like payments, credit, and investment, demonstrate higher consumption level. This suggests a synergistic effects where the combination of the tools enhance the financial capacity and boost the spending. And thirdly, the household income serve as the important mediating factors. Mediation analysis confirmed that the digital finance not only directly promotes the consumption, but also indirectly boosts it by increasing the household income, especially through the property and business earnings. This indirect pathway accounts for about 26.3% of the total effects, highlighting the importance of the income growth push the consumption growth mechanism. Fourthly, the digital finance has a stronger impact on rural households. Subgroup regression shows that the rural residents benefit more from the digital finance inclusion than the urban ones. This is primarily because the rural area have long suffered from the digital exclusion. The digital finance have helped overcome geographic and institutional barriers, improve the credit access, and supporting the rural consumption growth. Fifth, digital finance plays a greater role among the low consumption household. Quantitative regression result that the marginal effects of the digital finance decrease as the consumption level increase. In other words, digital finance has the stronger effects on low income and low spending group. This is reinforced the role of the digital finance in reducing inequality and supporting inclusive consumption. This is reinforced the role of the digital finance in reducing inequality and supporting inclusive consumptions. Based on these findings mentioned before, I propose 5 target policy recommendations. First is to explain the digital finance infrastructures in rural and underdeveloped areas. Government should jointly promote the digital service terminal in countries and villages to address the last mile of the financial access. This would reduce the urban-rural financial gap and supports the board-based consumptions. And second is to establish the forward-looking regulation systems and focus on the data governance and organism transparencies. In the platform-dominated environment, the data-driven credit model can create a risk of the organism bias and financial exclusion. Regulators should enforce the transparent data usage rule and set the digital credit standards and ensure the consumer data rights are protected. Third is to build a behavior-based credit mechanism to address the exclusion of the informal earners from the traditional credit system. Platforms should use non-traditional data such as e-commerce records and payment frequency to create inclusive credit assessment. This can shift credit evaluation from the asset certificates to behave signal. Fourth is to promote the financial education and age-friendly digital tools. Special attention should be given to the older and lower education group. Communities can set up the digital finance help station and educating programs to close the digital device. And fifth is to empower small and the micro business to practice in the digital ecosystems. Support measurement such as subsidies, technical training, and risk insurance should help the local merchandise access the QR payments, microloans, and order financing. A digital connected consumer suppliers law will enhance the local economics. And that's all from us. Thank you so much for listening.